Hello, this is a would you rather video rather than a debate or anything else. However, you can still debate which one is better, which one's worse. Concentration camps versus gulags. Concentration camps were used by the Nazis in World War II. They were labor/killing centers. They were divided into three sections: concentration camps, labor camps, and killing centers. They were used to build up a certain camp, such as Auschwitz. People who were sent to work there built up Auschwitz, and people who were gassed, were gassed and killed. These camps were used and built up by millions of people who died either by gas chambers. They were either unable to work or had diseases or anything like that, or they worked to death. Or they were just shot for failing a task, or not bringing something with them, or forgetting something. It was very, very minuscule things that the Nazis were very strict on. For example, they gave you clothes, they gave you some food, whatever food that was. They gave you shoes, a towel, and some other stuff. But if you forgot or ripped anything, they would punish you either severely or not at all. They were very, very strict, and targets were communists at first, then Jews, gypsies, and POWs, or prisoners of war, I should say. Now, these camps were very brutal, and not many people survived. Even though a lot of people, numbers, did survive, percentages did not. The chances of you surviving a concentration camp run by Nazis at the time was like 1 to 4 out of 10. Very low chances that you would survive. They killed approximately 12 million people within the span of about 6 years. Actually, no, never mind. They killed them around a little bit over 8, actually. So, that's very high death count for a small number of years. What about the gulags? The gulags were Russian labor camps. They weren't killing centers, but they were still pretty brutal. At the tasks they had to do were not brutal, but the environment was. For example, the people who were first brought there were protesters, political opponents, but mainly they were criminals. These criminals can be sent to these camps at very young ages to very, very old ages. So, these criminals would be put under brutal environments, such as freezing cold with barely anything on, starvation. They weren't like the Nazis, but they were still brutal and very painful to be in and be endured with. If you had a contagious disease, or you could not work, because of either your age or you had a disease, such as you had arthritis and you can't really do the task they asked you to do, you would be put down, either shot, or they would make you dig your own trench, lay you down, and shoot you in it. The scariest thing is, some of these were just not even that. Most people who went to these camps died of starvation and other disease, some beatings. So like 3-on-1, the 3 have sticks, the other one is just, being beat down. And this was the Russian labor camps, and they were pretty brutal. Not many people, however, know about this stuff. It's a very, very upsetting time. It was very upsetting to a lot of people. If they had to go here, they would be very scared for their lives, because it's really, really scary of an area to be in. The gulags were not a individual. Oh, I'm sorry. The gulags were more of individual punishments and individual purposes, not like groups. For example, the Jews, they were gassed simply because they were Jewish. The gulags didn't work that way. The gulags worked a lot differently. They were more, individual. So if you did something bad, that's your fault. The camps are actually still used today, which is very scary of a thought. However, your chances of surviving are just as high as back in the day, unless you count disease. These camps were made in around 1918, so almost 100 years these camps were around. And they were used. Most likely they were used every year for someone. There are a few still running. Not like all of them. But still, it's pretty scary that these camps still exist. Now, your chances of surviving on this one is 9 out of 10. You have a 90% chance of surviving, unless you have something wrong with you and they just put you down, or they beat you to death, or you starve to death. And this is very tragic, but it happens. Even in today's modern ages, it happens nonetheless. These camps killed around 30 plus million people. Most of these were their own civilians, and this was a very good understanding of why you would not go into Russia and straight up label yourself as a political opponent or fight back versus a lot of people, because just the thought of camps like these would be, and you could be sent to them, like, no problem whatsoever. You could be sent to these even if you didn't do anything wrong. So it's very upsetting to hear about, but I'm glad I know about this now. And I hope you as well are happy that you know about this. At least know about them. Now, would you rather, here's the question, would you rather go to a gulag, or would you rather go to a concentration camp for 20 years? I'll leave y'all up to decide on that question. My answer is gulag, because 1, you have a 9 out of 10% chance of surviving, which is 90%. It is a super, super high chance. However, if you go to a concentration camp, you don't have too great of a chance. You just have maybe a chance. And Put your answers in the comments. I will read them and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching. Bye.